line between light and dark is so very thin.
I am God! And I have become legend.
Welcome back, Guardians, to episode 19 now of Becoming Legend.
What is we made it to 19. We're almost able to drink legally.
Almost. We'll get there.
Almost.
We'll definitely
get there.
have to plan a little something special for episode 21 coming very soon to a podcast
Drunken
station
lore
near
stream.
you.
That would
Oh no.
that's what it's gotta be.
No. Maybe with Cade's Ramen, maybe a mukbang / drunken lore stream, something like that. We'll discuss it for sure.
We'll figure
So
something
welcome
out.
back, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again to our lovely lore episodes. We have begun the season of the Lost since the last time you heard from us. Last time we were reacting to the Witch Queen reveal, which was amazing. But now we've had a few weeks with the season of the Lost, and let me tell you, this one is, in my opinion, really lore heavy. Really lore heavy, to the point where I feel like I'm drowning. Before this episode began, me and Mr. Tweezii were just talking about how we notice different things in different parts of the lore. It's kind of funny how that works. So we just wanted to bring up some of those facts today.
Yeah, and I think now is also the perfect time. As of when we're recording this, we've experienced the first 3 weeks of the season. We're a little delayed, and that's for a lot of different personal reasons, but we have now officially experienced all 3 weeks. So we experienced what the whole game loop is going to be. So now is the perfect time to kind of give our thoughts about it, talk a little bit about the lore and what we know so far, talk about the gameplay loop, talk about all the weapons that we've been able to get so far, and just really kind of sit back and give initial impressions. I think this is the best time, because like that first week, we still don't know where this is going. But as of like week 3, there's a path. And it seems as if we exclude the lore and all this other stuff with just the stuff that we're experiencing in game, there's about to be a lot of very important things that are going to happen this season.
Yes.
And the breadcrumbs have been laid in such a way that are all of them going to be done? Is some of them like what's going to take precedence? Who knows? But I'm excited to talk about it, man. It's been. Okay, so when we're recording this is not something that's on our notes, by the way, so don't worry about that. I saw an article the other day that was saying that Destiny 2 is now one of the top 3 one of the top 3 games currently on Steam.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
Destiny 2 is no longer a dead game. The hype is real. Everybody is back. We're back to being number 3, especially with some of the things we talked about with some of the way, like the mechanic changes and some of the actual like game changes that they've made. They are continuing to reap the benefits of what we have. Again, we say it every week. I hate saying it, but I have to continue to iterate it because, there was a time when we didn't get to say things like this. Bungie has been doing a lot of things right. And even though this game came out at a time in which it was not very well received, and it didn't seem like Destiny or Bungie was listening to the community, we are now at a point where that is no longer the case. And just the growth of this game alone in the last 4 years it's phenomenal and should be celebrated and pointed out as much as we can, because holy crap, Destiny 2 was a step backwards. Anyways, all right, cool. I got that out. We're up there, man. Like I have been hyped about the fact that I saw top 3 and I was like, oh, this is insane. We're not a new game. We're a game that's been around for a bit. This is just a new season. So yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Let's talk about it, man.
Absolutely. The last season before the Witch Queen expansion, which means this is really, really the one that's going to drive home what will be happening in the next expansion. We'll be going over major characters, returning characters. Queen Bay, Mara Sov, has returned from the outer
She
reaches
has.
of space. She's got a message for us. She has a new best friend. We'll discuss that in just a moment.
Yes, we will.
So remember how in previous episodes we kind of had a recurring theme where this one warlock was acting kind of strange. Y'all might know him. He goes by the name Osiris. Some people call him the most powerful warlock alive, able to make light clones, like hundreds of light clones, and win entire battles by himself. Probably the most knowledgeable guardian, perhaps alive to date at this point. Ever since we lost the speaker, you know, he maybe hold the most wealth of information. Anyway, this last season, he was acting kind of strange, kind of weird. We ended up calling him Osiris as a little bit of a joke. Turns out, Mr. Tweezii was correct all along with his prediction.
Big plays.
Another part that I absolutely love is the show when we get to make those predictions and see them come into fruition. And I'll take the L on this one because I thought Osiris was completely innocent. Turns out he was not. He was Savathun all along. Wow. Even after they've been dropping the breadcrumbs for several weeks, like, I could not believe it. I really can't. And it still just brings so many questions about, okay, well, what things has Savathun been doing as the guise of Osiris? A major thing that's come into question with the season is Crow's trust in Osiris. Crow now knows that he never really met Osiris. He's been working with Savathun all along. So I can't even really tell if he's pro or against Savathun, but he definitely has questions about who he's been placing his trust in his entire guardian life. What do you think about some of these revelations, Mr. Tweezii?
I gotta say, I liked you saying that I was right, because I've also made some predictions where I've been so wrong. But this is very exciting. Obviously, Savathun is super exciting because of all of these implications. And we can talk about Crow and we can talk about Mara. And I am sure as we move forward, it might be, you know, this is just me like reaching out for a future episode. I don't know if we've done an episode fully on just Uldren Sov and Mara, but with all of this new lore that we're getting, especially with the Tale of the Stars quest, some of the stuff that's in the Ripples lore book, like, we are getting a better picture, not just of who Uldren was, but who Mara is and the relationship between the two. And I think it's definitely turning into something that's very interesting, especially with what we know now. Dude, there's been a lot of stuff. Oh, you know, the Savathun thing is obviously the biggest thing, and that's the thing that I'm going to have to talk about. But, you know, it really, you know, I think that when I said my prediction, I was like, I think that the Osiris that we've been dealing with for the last year, ever since the loss of Sagira, has been Savathun all along. And she has been manipulating things behind the scenes to try and create conflict between us, between the Vanguard members, you know, like Savathun is, you know, the goddess of trickery and cunning. And we even see it like after that first week's cutscene that you see where she explains her side of the truth. Even after like these subsequent weeks where you go and you get to talk to her and have these conversations, you know, she mentions that, you know, we are not afraid to speak with her. You know, like, we're some of the only people who are not afraid to speak with her. And is, you know, we're just having a conversation and it's just words. But we can see as she's talking the kind of manipulations that she's trying to pull between Mara, between Crow, between us, between the Vanguard, between everybody, between her sister. And it's super exciting that, you know, we've talked a lot about how we are supporting the devs and how, unfortunately, we've reached a situation where this season has been doubled. You know, instead of it being a 3-month season, we have a 6-month season now, leading into February 22nd, 2022, when the Witch Queen drops. And so with all of this time that we have, the biggest question was how much lore are we going to get? How is this going to be a 3-month season and then 3 dead months? Like, how is all of this stuff going to work? And as we continue through the season with a lot of the stuff that's happening, with the promises that have been made about what is still to come, and how this season is a direct lead up to the events of the Witch Queen, I'm starting to have hope that we're going to have 6 months of content, new content. Like, see, Festival of the Lost is going to be very interesting. How do you do Festival of the Lost when technically the Infinite Forest we no longer have accuracy or access to? How is that going to work? We have the Dawning coming up, but how is the Dawning going to work this season with all that we know, especially with Mara Sov being back? So I am excited about Savathun, excited about how this is leading into the Witch Queen, because there was a throwaway thing. We've talked about it when we did the reveal, talking about how did she get a hold of the ghosts? How has Savathun gotten these ghosts and been able to manipulate them in the light in such a way that she can resurrect the hive? Indeed. And now we know.
Indeed.
It was giving it to Osiris because he trusted him. And this is exciting,
Extremely.
Yeah. So do we need to do a quick recap of what's happened? I feel like we've talked a lot and we've made a lot of assumptions that our audience, which I believe everybody in our audience kind of knows what's happening, but if you're not playing every week, you might not be aware of what's happening this season. If you're trying to knock out previous seasons, you might not be aware. So, Bird, do we have a quick rundown? Like, how quickly can we get through the last 3 weeks, story wise? What's happened other than us learning that Mara Sov is back and Savathun was Osiris all along?
Excuse me, I do have something caught in my throat, so if I clear my throat occasionally, my apologies.
You're good.
But I think we can do it pretty quick. I would say, for the most part, since Osiris was Savathun, they did a big reveal. Saint 14 was super pissed off, of course. What is happening is Savathun is fleeing her sister. We're learning more about her, and we thought that she was the villain all along. She was the big bad that we're going to fight at the end. Well, she tells us, no, that's not really true. There is something else, the voice in the darkness, which we've heard that phrase before in several different terms. The voice in the darkness is the head honcho in charge and is commanding Xivu Arath, Savathun's sister. Xivu Arath is the hive god of war, is hunting down Savathun, the hive god of cunning, because Savathun wants to get rid of her worm. She wants us, the Guardians, to work with Mara Sov in order to cut her worm, which would break her ties to the darkness. But personally, I think that she has some secret motives besides wanting to do that. Like, I don't know, maybe if you're not tied to the worm gods, you might be able to use the light. I don't know, just for example. Anyway, so right now we are working on a plan in order to make that happen. By the way, if you're wondering, why would we work with her in the first place? Because she tells us that Osiris is still alive somewhere, supposedly. My personal opinion, she's the hive god of lies and cunning. I don't think Osiris is alive, but this is a prediction that we'll see. Maybe he is. Maybe he is alive, and we'll get some kind of story there. Anyways, we're going to try to get Osiris back, and in order to cut the ties with her worm, what we are doing is going to rescue the awoken Techians that were lost during the Battle of Saturn. If you remember from the trailer from Destiny, the Taken King, or in the opening battle, there's a big space battle, and that's where Uldren dies and where Mara dies, and a ton of the awoken fleet is absolutely destroyed. During that battle, Queen Mara sent these, you could say, Kamehameha waves at the Oryx ship, and those were sent by the Techians, which are the most powerful psychic users of the Awoken. So it turns out they didn't really die. They've been floating in between our realm and the astral realm in what are called the ley lines. A quick explanation: our realm is, they explain it in the game as coins. If you imagine one coin on the top is our realm, our universe, and one coin on the bottom being the astral plane, the spider web that connects it in between are the ley lines. So they are the transitional space between one universe and another. That's where they've been this entire time. We're going on a mission every single week to go find a new Techian and bring them back so they can combine their powers, so we can cut the hive worm off, hopefully kill it. That'd be a great battle, and potentially rescue Osiris. I believe that's what's going on in a nutshell. There are way more storylines going on with Crow and Queen Mara. But yeah, I think that's the gist of it.
Yeah, that's definitely it. You know, you talked about the entity, and you know, we have had reference to the entity in the past. The entity, as I heard, the entity was on the Glycon missions that we got, Season of the Chosen. There was conversations between Kyle and Osiris, who we now know is, you know, Savathun, or was Savathun at the time, talking about the entity, the voice behind the darkness. We also think that this is who we spoke to when we had that weird fever dream vision where we were speaking to ourselves, and in the darkness told us, you know, I am your salvation. We're thinking it's all the same thing. The entity apparently is the power behind the worm gods and the darkness itself. The entity is who Callus spoke to on the Glycon. Like when Callus went to Mars, he did not go to try and commune with the darkness, but from what we've been learning, he was there to try and speak with the entity. Yes. And another thing that I think is super important about the entity, since it was brought up, and why this battle between Xivu Arath and stuff is kind of important right now. Please remember, the Dreaming City is still under the Taken Curse. That repeating time cycle every 3 weeks that you have to interact with. But according to Savathun, she is no longer in control of the Taken Army. The Taken Army is now listening to the entity. I don't believe that, by the way. It's the perfect thing for a liar to say. But
yes,
you know, she says that she is no longer in charge of the Taken. The Taken are now, you know, being commanded by Xivu Arath, and they're all being commanded by the entity. And so she is trying to break her connection from the worm so she can sever her connection to the worm god. She no longer has to satiate her hunger for cunning, you know, in order to continue to live the life that she's been living. And it's very interesting because, spoiler alert, Witch Queen showed it. We're going to her Ascendant Realm. So does she sever herself from her worm? Is she considered to be a heretic like Nokris for trying to revive the dead? You know, that's a very interesting thing that we can talk about in a later episode. But the entity is super important, and you know, we were excited for Mara to come back because, you know, for years we've been saying when Mara comes back, we're going to break the curse on the Dreaming City. Mara is now back, and what we are being told is that maybe we can't break the curse in the way that we thought we could. We can't just defeat Savathun to free the Dreaming City from this curse. Also, fun spoiler fact, they're also talking about the reemergence of Wish 15 and what that could be. You know, what is Mara going to do with her stuff? But these are things for us to find out over the next 6 months, and hopefully, if we don't get all the answers, of course, hopefully we just continue to get all this great story that leads us to Witch Queen, where we'll be, you know, it's also a weird season because we know what's going to happen next, kinda. And so it's like, oh, okay, like I see how this happened now, and I kind of see this, but what does this mean? Yeah. So that's the lore. I figure now's a good time to talk about the gameplay because, again, 3 weeks we've done the loop. So we have our new 6-man activity, 6-man, not 3-man. The Astral Alignment, pretty much. Astral Alignment, you go to the blind well, you charge batteries so that you can you charge batteries so that you can send out signals from astral anchors to detect where I kind of got lost with all of that. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it's blind well with a little bit more.
Right. So your new seasonal artifact is what you use to determine the path of the blind well. The blind well, for those of you who don't know, is a portal in the center of the Dreaming City that is used to access either other realities or other places in space where Queen Mara put some weapons or, whatever. Anyway, so what we're doing is we are aligning this portal with the ley lines that I mentioned before, those spaces in between our universe and theirs. So as we charge up the batteries, we plug those into the machine, which sends us into another realm where we need to charge up 2 more separate batteries. How does this work out in gameplay? Basically, you kill a bunch of ads in the beginning, charge the battery, get teleported to another brand new game space. It looks really beautiful. If you look at the Dreaming City, everything is clouds and ascendant blues and stars off in the distance, and it's really beautiful. Honestly, I really like it. And either kill ads in one place or kill ads in another place. And sometimes you might get placed in what was the public event on the reef, which was you have to defend it from the blue orbs that come and try to make their way into a ball. So you're either shooting stuff or defending stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This event is actually really long in comparison to the previous 6-man activities. I would say this one takes approximately 10 to 12 minutes to finish.
Yeah, but I'd also say
really
that's
fun.
about how long a Battlegrounds took,
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that was a 3-man, but also the Menagerie was what, like a 30-minute?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
especially if you
we're in a
have
good place.
blueberries who don't know what they're doing. You'll be in there all day.
Or people who are doing stupid shit.
Yeah. By the way, that is exactly the same if you're wondering if that experience has changed at all. The majority of people have no clue what they're doing in Astral Alignment. So if you know what you're doing, great, you can advance it pretty quickly. Or what a lot of people are doing is using the public event to farm for their either bounties or for their exotic catalysts, because we do have a new exotic which we're actually going to talk about later in the episode, but it's pretty good, and the catalyst for it is great. So if you need to farm kills, Astral Alignment is where to do it, honestly.
Exactly, man. I mean, I like it. I think it feels, from a gameplay perspective, I think it's fine. It does what I want Destiny to do. Give me enemies to kill. The event that you're talking about on the Tangled Shore that you would do, I think what it is that it's sending ether into like these like chained down servitors. Like it looks like a servitor that's they're trying to feed ether to. Right. I still don't know what the point of it is, but all in all, it's still kind of like a fun activity. It's still, unlike parts of the stuff that we were doing last season, it does feel a lot more like I can kind of run off and kind of have a small little zone that I can call my own. Compared to last season, there was like 3 areas in which enemies would spawn, and then like it was just who camped first and who got all the kills and picked up all of the motes that were on the ground. So this one's actually a lot of fun, and there's a lot of teamwork elements in this. When you pick up the battery, you have to take it up a hill, and typically you have like 15 seconds to move. So either if you're playing with the team, you can have somebody with a sword or a Titan like shoulder charge you to kind of boost you up the hill a little bit more. Or sometimes it doesn't, but it's very similar to that raid mechanic that you experience. I want to say it's Vault to Glass with being exhausted. You pick up this battery, you can only take it a certain distance, and then it is forcibly dropped, and somebody else on your team has to pick it up to carry it the rest of the way. And so I'm also liking, from a gameplay perspective, things like that, because it is some of the more it's what we would consider like back in the day to be like more of an advanced raid mechanic that's now finding its way into the game, so that hopefully as we move forward and as more players experience the game and as more people get interested in running raids, more people will have a base understanding of how these raid mechanics will work, so that maybe people can pick up on the raids a little bit faster and get through it. But that's just that's my thoughts on that activity. I do like it. It's very interesting that the currency that we earn this season just goes towards so many things. And so I feel like you have to be very particular about whether you pick up that second chest at the end or not. But, all in all, it's still a lot of fun. And it doesn't take too long to run. So you can knock out that that weekly pinnacle or whatever powerful. You can knock that out like within a single play session. So.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like they did a better job of that this season as well. The thing we've been complimenting for the past couple episodes is that they are lowering the amount of required time that you have to play per week. And I've noticed that this season's gameplay loop seems to be relatively fast. I would say maybe an hour, 90 minutes tops. But I think within an hour, you'll be able to do the astral alignment. You'll be able to visit the next planet. You'll be able to have a conversation with Mara, and you'll be able to do the Shattered Realm, which is the second half of the weekly cycle that we're actually going to discuss next. The Shattered Realm is, if you're familiar with the Dreaming City, there are different points where you can enter the Ascendant Realm and kind of go on like a little explorational mission. Well, they've put 3 brand new ones into the game that you can access one per week, where you actually go to rescue the Techien. So remember, Astral Alignment is about finding the Techien, and the Shattered Realm is about the actual rescue of the Techien, and you make more discoveries while you're in there because they give you more dialogue, and especially in the 3rd week, you make a pretty strong discovery about how the Ascendant Realm actually works. But I'll get to that in a second. Mr. Tweezii, what were your thoughts about your first experience in the Shattered Realm? Week 1. What did you think?
Week 1, I was kind of confused. I'm not going to lie.
Agreed.
They came in and there were all of these different way markers that I saw, and I was just very confused about hey, this should do something. What does it do? Oh, okay. I'm going to have to upgrade my compass this season. This is going to take a while before I can do everything. But it was a lot of fun, and it's definitely an activity after I finished it that first week, and then I've unlocked more things in my compass. It is an activity that I actually kind of enjoy going and doing because there's just a lot of secrets hidden in there. There's surprisingly, actually, there is entire pages of triumphs, whole tabs of triumphs dedicated to each of the 3 versions of the Shattered Realm. The first one was Forest of Echoes. And so that was, again, I think Bird explained it best. We are kind of in between the astral plane and the real world. And so there is mirroring of some of the real world locations. And so one of the one that we experienced first is the mirroring of the EDZ. So there's a lot of churches there and a lot of things that are very reminiscent of how the EDZ looks. Mm-hmm. It was definitely a lot of fun. I enjoyed it more, honestly, the second week through, or the second time through the loop, because at that point I had already gotten all of my stuff upgraded. I had the barrier breach. I had true sight. I had suppressed something. Ooh, yep.
Yes,
that's not good.
Something. Mm-hmm.
Suppressed something. The one that does away with the slow buff. With the slowing effect that happens in certain zones. Having all 3 of those, I was having even more fun in the Forest of Echoes the second week because there was just so much stuff that yes, you can finish the whole gameplay loop in an hour if you're really trying, but I was just so excited about exploring that space that it took me probably 2, and a whole hour of that is just me messing around in the Shattered Realm. So What about you? What were your thoughts?
I got lost immediately within the first week, and then I was very confused coming upon the different barriers and seeing things off in the distance. How do you get there? I know I can get there, but also just being familiar with the game, knowing that, okay, as the season progresses, I'll probably get more abilities that would allow me to do this later. So it did frustrate me a little bit, but I did get to go through and explore the Ascendant Realm. I got to rescue the Techien. And I agree with you that by the second week, whenever you were able to upgrade your seasonal artifact, then you really get to explore, especially the barrier breach lets you go, okay, finally I can get through this purple wall that was holding me back. And there's several chests, you get a lot of rewards in there. And I did like the optional exploration in the Shattered Realm, because you can, like I said, if you want to play an hour or so a week to get the story done, you can speed run it and get it done, or you can explore. And I was spending about 45 minutes in there, 30 minutes. You know, if you explore everything, these places are huge, and there are multiple barriers and puzzles for you to figure out. And we still don't even have access to all of them at this point in the season.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not yet.
It's really, really interesting. I find I actually like a little bit of the story being developed in the Shattered Realm as well. So in week 1, you know, and of course, in all of these activities, there's a boss, right? So in week 1, you kill a pretty big Hive Knight. You know, you've killed 1,000 of those things before, no big deal. But you notice in his name that he was a Hive Knight of Savathun. But in week 3, whenever you face him, he's actually resurrected, and he is a giant, like super Hive Knight. And now he's Xivu Arath. And to my understanding, in the lore, he actually rejected Savathun whenever she said, hey, I don't want to work for the darkness anymore. I want to recruit the help of Marasov and, quote, turn myself in at the Dreaming City, like she claims she's doing. Then what about all of her hive kin and all of her loyalists and soldiers who have been following her this whole time? Hey, my queen, who was supposed to lead me to the end of all things, just said, screw the sword logic. That's the whole religion that our hive species is based on. So he actually rejected her and is proving himself to Xivu Arath. And, you know, it's really bringing questions into, like you said before, is Savathun or are the darkness using resurrection now? If so, that goes against the sword logic. So what are they doing here? Are they using the bond logic, which for those who don't know is kind of the idea of how the light works? If they are able to access that, then that would further explain how we could get Hive Guardians in the next expansion. So they're kind of starting to drop breadcrumbs towards, and it's really fun to follow this trail, but there's so much we don't know that it's not predictable, and it's a really fun experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think we can knock through, if we want to just quickly go over the other 2 areas of the Shattered Realm. You have the Debris of Dreams. Debris of Dreams is, oh gosh, I lost it for a second. Because I think the Ruins of Wrath is the moon, right?
Correct.
And Debris of Dreams, where was that location that's being mirrored?
The reef.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's the reef, but I'm not 100%. So again, it's the same gameplay loop. You know, you can find Ascendant Anchors there. You can unlock things, use True Sight, Barrier Bash, all of that stuff. But yeah, man, I like overall that part of the game loop is actually the thing that's been more exciting for me, because also like I was that person that I ran the Glycon for fun, because it's just a fun hour-long activity. You get to explore, you get to learn more about the lore and about a lot of different things that are happening. So that stuff was fun, you know, and I really liked just rocking through it, man.
Okay, so now that you bring up the Glycon real quick, do you go back and re-listen to the lines knowing that it's Savathun and kind of having a bit of sarcasm every time Osiris says something in that mission?
I've been wanting to do it with that and do it especially with like the Season of the Chosen and even the beginning Beyond Light. I kind of want to go back to those seasons and listen to those pieces of lore, because there's, you know, we've talked about it. Osiris has kind of been in the background for the entire time. Mm-hmm. You know, Osiris was given the list of all of Ikora's hidden. Osiris was elevated to advisor to Zavala because of a letter that Sagira had written. I don't really believe that part, by the way.
I didn't even think about that.
So there's a lot of perspective that I've been wanting to go back and experience those things and see with this newfound knowledge that we have, how things are being done. Because again, we said that we'll talk about Crow and Uldrensov and Queen Mara and later episodes, but the manipulation is a lot easier to track now, and how, we've known that there's potential strife with introducing Aldrin Sov the Crow back to the Guardians, or vice versa, letting the Crow know who he was in the past, especially with our very complicated history of we shot him.
Yep.
We are directly responsible for Aldrin Sov's death. Yes, he was corrupted by the darkness, and that's neither here nor there. But, we see the manipulations, and it starts to lead into questions that we're having right now with this season of, is he just susceptible to the darkness? And is that why Mara is trying to keep him away from Savathûn now? We see that he's kind of starting to turn back into that little asshole that Aldrin Sov was. Forgive my language, but, it's something that's just, I want to go back. I want to experience it more and be like, oh, well, now knowing what I know now about who you are, this is fishy. Why are you involved? So
Right.
I just think that, Savathûn's been playing 40 chess this entire season with all of us.
Mhm.
We already know that Savathûn, like Crow sings Savathûn's song, and we know that different people around the tower, Saint 14, were all singing various versions of Savathûn's song. We didn't know how, but now we do. It is the fact that Savathûn was Osiris and was introducing them to her song all year. And I'm just like, again, 40 chess is what's happening.
Absolutely.
So I kind of want to go back and rewatch and be like, okay, well, I see this move now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great question, I think. So we can also talk about the seasonal exotic, the first one that we got, not the second one. The one that you get with your season pass, the Lawrence Driver. It's a beast,
Oh yeah.
There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
It was very popular in Crucible for that first week. And I'm so
extremely.
glad that it's kind of out of the meta now.
So popular it got nerfed within a week. A week.
I mean, it was a little OP. I'm not gonna lie, but the nerf wasn't bad. For those of you that are wondering what the Lawrence Driver does, it is it a linear or just a fusion? I think it's a linear.
It's a linear fusion, correct?
Yeah, it is a void linear fusion rifle. So it's going to sit in your energy slot. It takes green bricks. Basically, it does two things. One, it tracks one single enemy or one single ad. In PvE, it'll actually show very similar to if you have the one-eyed mask for Titans, how that kind of works with that tracking through a wall, or if you are playing Hunter, like if you're playing Void Hunter and you hit your arrow and it kind of, you can see people through walls because they're stuck. It's that exact same thing. That's actually what they nerfed. It was a little OP because you can kind of see people through walls when you're playing PvP, and that's kind of not fun. That second week that they did that, by the way, this is going to make me feel and look like an idiot. But that second week that they didn't, I didn't realize it. And people in PvP are still running around with like the red around their character. And I was like, for the life of me, I can't figure out why this guy's glowing red. Why is he glowing red on my screen? Why is this just guy? And then it wasn't until I did PvE and I was like, oh, it's because I'm using this gun. Right. God, I'm an idiot. So, but pretty much, I think it's what? If you hit a headshot, it creates a small little void bubble. So it draws people in and then creates a small explosion.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much like the specialty about it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's about the same mechanic as the stasis grenade, where it'll draw them towards the middle, but now it creates a void black hole.
Yep. And then it does damage the same way that if you're a void warlock, I know that one of your melees allows you to do damage like this, where you punch somebody and they turn into a bomb that explodes damage out. Mm-hmm. But man, it's a fun gun. especially as we get more and more exotics, I've been slowly worrying about how they're going to balance all of these things. And other than that one, wall glitch that they had made legal in the game, I gotta say, I'm not as worried anymore about them introducing new exotics and these new mechanics, because especially with this, like, I see a time and place to use it, but it's not going to take over any one area of my loadout or not. Like, it's just a thing to throw in the back in case I need to do like rapid ad clear and something.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's actually really good for PvE in that sense for rapid ad clear. Again, with those headshots, you can suck in probably 6 to 8 ads per shot and wipe them. In addition to that, we actually did not write this down in our notes, but this is a really great thing to toss in. One of the new seasonal mods is called Particle Accelerator. And that is, if you're looking at your mods, it is the very bottom right one on row 5. So it's one of the last ones that you can get. What it does,
it'll be about level 33 and a half is when you'll unlock it on your artifact.
Correct. What it does is it will stack damage on every single linear fusion rifle shot or fusion rifle shot. So what I commonly do is I'll have a fusion rifle in my energy weapon and a linear fusion in my heavy. So say for example, if I fire 3 shots with my energy rifle, it will do increasing damage on those first 3. Then I can switch to my heavy and do even more damage with because it's a linear fusion rifle. Each shot you will see stack. So I've been running Sleeper Simulant almost all season, and it typically buffs about 20,000 damage per shot with that mod. So combine that with the new Lorentz driver linear fusion, and you can do some pretty good damage.
Yeah.
And besides that little nerf, I'm sorry, but besides that little nerf in PvP, all they did was make it so you can't see people through walls as often. You still can kind of do it, but it doesn't work as well. But my personal issue with it is, okay, I get it's not really fair to see people through walls, and yet you allow me to main Wish Ender all day. So how is it fair that you can have a bow when fully pulled back on the drawstring? I can see up to 3 enemies through a wall, and I have over penetration. So if they're all standing in a row, I can kill them all with one shot. That's fair, but Lorentz driver is not. I don't know. I just think it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that difficult to counter in the first place, but that's just me complaining about nothing.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a big deal, but I could also see it in games like Trials, especially considering that Trials just got the 3-peak fix. I can see where that would become the issue, is that people being like, hey, like, you just got rid of 3-peaking, but now you've put in wall hacks into the game. If you're going to run Wish Ender in Trials, good luck. You might do good, you might do really bad. It's up to you.
Right. I've been doing all right, but then I started using Le Monarch and Fractithist. I think that's my combo for the season.
Okay. We're about to talk about Trials, by the way. It was accidentally on purpose, like, turned into a great way to segue to it. I keep buying my ticket and then not playing. Like, I buy it on a Friday. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, it's Friday night. All of the tryhards are on right now. I really don't. I don't want to sweat at like 11 o'clock at night. So, you know what? I'll just play tomorrow. And then that's how my weekend goes. So, by Monday, I'm like, no, I'm not going to play. But we talked about how massive the Trials changes were. And I've been talking to my friends who main Trials, who try to go flawless every week, and a lot of, like, a couple of my friends actually do go flawless every week, which is great. To get their impressions about it, because the biggest change is that matchmaking of Trials of Osiris. You can be a solo player going in to Trials of Osiris, and they've increased the loot. So, going flawless isn't the big, it's still a great thing, by the way, but it's not the end all be all anymore. I think a lot of teams this week are going to start tanking their things, by the way. Because of some Trials things. So to recap all the changes, of course, we talked about 3-peaking with swords. You can no longer pull out a sword that has no ammo in it to peek and go into third person view.
That's right.
They've taken care of that. That's no longer a thing. Again, matchmaking, the increased amount of loot that you get for winning rounds. It doesn't, so like, you still get loot for playing the game. It's not just loot by getting wins, which is great for players who are playing solo and who are new to the game. And then the other thing that they implemented starting like week 2, week 3, I think, was that they created a separate match instance where if you are a team that has gone flawless, or if somebody on your team has gone flawless that weekend, you get placed into a match pool of other players who have at least one person on their team who have gone flawless. It turns real sweaty from what I've heard. But it's exciting because new players can come in, and if you don't have to worry about people sitting on 7 wins on a flawless card, just bodying people.
Yes.
So we've seen it again. It's why the game is so popular on Steam. It is why everybody is talking about this game right now. The changes that they've made, along with it bringing in the anti-cheat and all of these things, has made Trials popular again, for the most popular that I think Trials has ever been. So it's been really exciting. But you've actually gotten experience in it, so I'm curious what your take is as somebody who's actually played and not just bought a ticket.
I'm surprised that it's been bringing me back, that I've actually been looking forward to Trials. So, for instance, we're recording this on a Thursday night, so Trials will go active tomorrow morning. I'm going to be on Trials tomorrow, honestly. But one of the things that I did not know that they were going to do was to also increase the amount of pinnacles that you can get from Trials. You now can get 2 pinnacles in addition to the powerful gear, prime engrams, and just regular Trials of Osiris drops that you can get. You get one for 7 round wins, and you get another for 7 game wins, and another for 50 round wins. Meaning, even if you play the game for 3 hours straight, right, and you only win maybe 1 or 2 games during that period, because Trials is kind of hard. It is the the pinnacle of PvP. It's the raids of PvP, as some people call it, because communication is so tight in there. Anyways, if you are in there having a losing streak, you are still able to gain rewards from the system. You will still get a pinnacle, and you will still get Trials drops. So hopefully you get a good messenger with a good role, so that guy who's been murdering you with messenger for the last 3 games in a row, you can get him back. I've been loving my messenger personally. This is my first time I've ever gotten one. I'm one of those players who up until this point didn't really dabble in Trials. Maybe occasionally, I'll run a ticket just to give it a shot. Maybe once a month, honestly. Even then, it wasn't something that I really put into my regular routine. But I am enjoying how they have set up the matchmaking now. It feels a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but not as tense. I'm just having a better time in general than I used to. And I'm really enjoying it, honestly. Good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the overarching thing that I've heard from the community is just we're by opening it up to everybody, by reducing the amount of cheaters that you're running into, by allowing you to queue in as a solo player.
Queue, absolutely.
It is, I was in that exact same boat. I never really wanted to run Trials because, one, I know it's super sweaty and you got to spend like 20 minutes kitting yourself up and getting all your mods and all your weapons and all your stuff ready so that you could actually do some work. And then the other thing was always you had to have a team of 3 people. Like you couldn't go in by yourself. You would have to have 2 other people that are committed to playing for as long as you want to play, and vice versa. You have to want to play for as long as they want to play. And that's just complicated, especially, you and I, we're not as young as we used to be anymore. We have more adult responsibilities and things that we need to take care of. And so it's not the easiest thing to do to get 3 adults together at the same time across the country to play something for a series of hours. So I'm excited to see how this continues to work and whether or not we're going to see this popularity continue as the weekends progress, or if this is something that's just because it's new, it doesn't taper off. but it's great because also everybody has the ability to earn those adept weapons as well. And not just the ones that are coming out this season, but the past ones as well. So you can really get yourself, like, if you want to collect all the guns, you can get them, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But that is why we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Trials of Osiris. We knew it would have to be big. We knew it would have to be good. Trials is that important to the game, both from a gameplay perspective and from a visibility perspective, as far as what's happening on the weekends on Twitch, on YouTube, on everything. And we're back. Like that's all I know to say. Destiny is back, and people are seeing that Destiny and the developers at Bungie are some of the best to do first person shooters, bar none. And Destiny is a one of a kind experience that you're not going to get with any other kind of game that you play. So if you're new, if you're curious, if you want to try it out, by all means, download the game. Find us on the game, join our clan, join our Discord, do all the things, because this is the perfect time to pick it up and play. We got 6 months, and then we got a new expansion, and it's gonna be a great year as this continues, because there's no way that we're going back to the way that it used to be. This greatness is a greatness train that we're gonna continue for a couple of years now. So
yes, absolutely. My man, Mr. Tweezii, speaks the truth. And if you don't believe it, hearing it from us, you can actually go back and rewatch the Witch Queen DLC reveal, and there will be an entire hour dedicated to how Bungie is making changes to the game, listening to the community. And one of the things they said, I can almost quote verbatim, maybe not exactly, is they are trying to become a household name in gaming, meaning they don't want to be just the best looter shooter or the best space looter shooter, or, you know, whatever you want to decide to call it. They want to be one of the best games on the market, period. And right now, honestly, with the Call of Duty Vanguard beta competition and some of the things that went on going there, I'm not going to get into. That's a whole nother episode we probably will never do. But the point is,
I'm playing the Halo fight this weekend.
Yes. Hey, well, you know, let me know how that goes. Because anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game is in an absolutely fantastic place right now, and it's only going to get better. You can trust in that and give it a shot. You might like it. And definitely one thing I want to say, again, Mr. Tweezii literally just said this by saying, join our clan. This is a game, like most, that is better with friends. Honestly, you will definitely have fun as a solo player, exploring, leveling up, being the most powerful guardian you can be. But sometimes you just want to nerf around with your friends. So if you need friends to nerf around with, check out that link at the bottom of the description. We'll have you. We'll take you. No pressure. If you're already in a clan, but maybe they're not super active, or you just want people to play with in general, feel free to join the Discord. There's no pressure to join at this point. Potential to change that rule down the line. But for now, we'll take anyone, honestly. Just be cool, be respectful. We do raids almost on a weekly basis. We actually have one scheduled for tomorrow at noon for Vault of Glass. We are looking to do carries. So if you've never done a raid in your life, we will carry you. Almost all of us have gotten to the point where we can teach. So
that's good.
Come have us.
Yeah, man. Well, I think that's the perfect place to end it, man. If you guys are listening, leave us a follow on Spotify or subscribe wherever you listen. Rate and review it on Apple Podcasts. That actually does help, as does following us. And again, we will leave information for the Discord server, how to reach out to us on social media, find our Twitches. All of that stuff is going to be in the show notes. So if you want to continue this conversation, we'll give you all the information about where you can do it. But yeah, man, we're going to be 20 next episode.
Ooh, big 20.
Heck yeah.
We're going to have our first little sneak drink. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Exactly, man. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. This has been a pleasure, as always. Bird.
Indeed.
Later, y'all.
Adios.